If you want to understand who loses in a global crisis, don't look at who consumes the most. Look at who has the least control when things spiral. Maybe we've been asking the wrong question. Instead of who depends most on Middle East energy, which always points to Asia, we should ask who is truly exposed. Asia may experience a shock, but Europe is the continent most at risk of losing control when the system is under stress. On paper, Asia looks more vulnerable. It imports more oil, consumes more energy, and sits closer to the Middle East. The conclusion feels obvious, but global systems break based on structure, not volume. To paint a clearer picture, Asia is like a big, strong truck carrying a lot of weight. Europe is a smaller truck carrying less weight, but with weak wheels. This exposes Europe's structure as fragile in 5 specific ways. Number 1, Europe does not control the energy it consumes. It imports a large share of its energy, and when you are a net importer of any commodity, you are bound to feel the impact when disruptions happen. Number 2, Europe today depends heavily on moving energy by sea. After the loss of Russian pipeline gas, Europe shifted toward LNG shipped across oceans. Pipelines are relatively predictable, but ships are not. They are efficient only under stable conditions. And if that stability is interrupted, as it has been through the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, an energy crisis is bound to follow. Number 3, Europe buys energy in a global bidding war. Many European buyers rely on market pricing and short-term contracts. This works well when supply is abundant and prices are good, but in a crisis, when competition is high, a cargo can be redirected to the highest bidder. This means Europe must compete with other regions for the same supply. Number 4, financial pressure builds quickly. Energy shocks don't stay in the energy sector. They permeate through the entire economy. As a result, investors flee to perceived safe havens. Capital flows out, import costs rise, and currencies weaken. The result? Energy becomes even more expensive, feeding a self-reinforcing cycle. Number 5, political fragmentation slows response. Europe's fragmented governance slows crisis response as different states prioritize different solutions. The slower the response, the faster control slips away. The global system is uneven. In a crisis, like the ongoing one, 3 types of actors emerge: losers, winners, and the middlemen who absorb the cost. The US, China, and Gulf states tend to be better cushioned. The US produces its own oil. China can run on coal and also holds strategic oil reserves. The Gulf benefits from higher oil prices. Europe, by contrast, sits in a fragile position. Import-dependent, market-driven, and politically fragmented. This combo is a powder keg because Europe cannot respond unanimously and struggles to shield itself from external shocks. Start looking for the pressure points, like surging fuel prices, even airlines cutting operations. Europe reminds me of keyboard warriors, standing back and reacting. In times of crisis, reacting is the weakest position, and this circles back to post-World War II. Europe optimized for comfort before resilience, and it is evident in its generous welfare systems. But now, it is paying the price. Last year, during the drone bombardment, several airports closed for hours. That moment confirmed Europe's vulnerability. In a fallen world, you don't optimize for comfort, you optimize for survival, even in times of prosperity and relative peace. Asia may consume more energy, but Europe depends more heavily on 3 things: uninterrupted trade routes, stable prices, and continuous global cooperation. When those break, Europe feels disruption fast. That is why the crisis may lie less in who consumes the most energy and more in who depends most on the system working perfectly. Europe's push toward renewables is also revealing. I listened to Teresa, who is an EU MP, and she said it is time for Europe to find alternative forms of energy away from fossil fuels. And in my mind, I was like, that could be the final nail in Europe's coffin because renewables require a more complex, tightly coordinated system to produce the same stability fossil fuels provide naturally. Europe and America as we know them today are products of fossil fuel abundance, not just for machines, but for urbanization, industry, trade, science, global influence, etc., etc. Without it, most of what we have, including industrialization and technology, would not exist. Europe sits in attention. It faces stark choices: pressure or join Mr. Trump to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, restore flows from Russia, or endure mounting disruption. And like you, my dear listener, we can only sit back and watch which move it takes.